ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another episode of the CD Racoola Show. Today's show, we're going to have you running for the hills as we take a look at the 2006 film, The Hills Have Eyes. Before we battle hillbilly cannibalistic mutants, could you guys out there in YouTube land be dears and hit that subscribe button for little old me? Okay, so back to The Hills Have Eyes here. Again, this is the 2006 film, which was a remake of Wes Craven's 1977 film, also named The Hills Have Eyes. I really like the 1977 movie, and highly suggest giving it a watch as well if you have the time. I was really glad that they decided to give this film a remake. It's always hard to beat an original film with a remake, but I, for one, think some films deserve remakes. Why not? In fact, what old film would you guys out there in YouTube land like to see have a modern remake? For me, I'd like to see the 1972 film Gargoyles get a remake. I think that film could be a lot of fun. I should review that Gargoyles film. Let me jot myself a little note here, and then I'll get back to The Hills Have Eyes. I promise. Note to self. Review the 1972 film Gargoyles, and don't forget to clean out the pantry. It's still a little dirty from my last dinner party. Okay, so this film has a great premise, with a family traveling through the New Mexico desert when they're told of a shortcut by a gas station attendant. Then they're subsequently attacked by nuclear mutant cannibals, and that is where the fun of this story really begins. With all the death and the fire and explosions and the killing. Oh, it's so fun. Oh, by the way, how about those gas station attendants in horror films? You can just never trust them. Gas stations in general are pretty prime spots for horror films. Have you ever been pumping your gas and just felt someone's eyes all over you? Then you look up and no one's there. Or are they? So the gas station guy gives them directions straight into the mutated freaks bent on murdering and snacking on the family. Let's chat about the cast of this film, because it had a pretty legit one, I'll say. A couple of my favorites were Ted Levine as Big Bob Carter, the dad and grandfather patriarch of the crew, whom they burn on a tree. Ted Levine is, of course, famous for Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. I did an episode of the show on Silence of the Lambs. If you guys have the time, check that one out. One of my favorite horror films, that's for sure. And Levine, he certainly plays a killer Buffalo Bill. Vanessa Shaw, also in this film. Vanessa was in Hocus Pocus. I know that's not a true blue horror film, but it certainly is fun, and I tend to mix it in, even though it's for the kiddies, really. But hey, even though I'm an over 600-year-old immortal vampire, doesn't mean I'm not a kid in my black little unbeating heart, right? Right, okay, wrong, whatever. Emily DeRaven, rather, also in this film. She plays in the 2005 film slasher Santa Slay. Would be remiss if I didn't mention Greg Nicotero, whom plays Sist. Greg is a makeup and special effects guy, and you really should research Greg Nicotero because his resume is insane with the films he's done. Really impressive these special effects and makeup guys are. Love to see real talent like that in action, instead of just CGIing everything. Robert Joy, also in this film, playing Lizard, whom I think is the scariest and most dangerous of the mutants. He was also in George Romero's Land of the Dead as well. So, speaking of mutants, let's take a peek at these guys, because I thought they definitely had some cool and scary looks in there. The mutants were byproducts of a government nuclear testing gone haywire, gone awry, if you will. So without further ado, let's dive into the nuclear cesspool that was these mutants. I mentioned Lizard before. He was the scariest, at least to me, and seemed to be the most deranged. Then we had Pluto, who was just a hulking beast, and met quite the ending on the other end of a pickaxe. Just look at that. Yikes. We had Papa Jupiter, whom had a kind of Rob Zombie look to him. He was the leader of the mutants, but you didn't see him very much. Big Mama was also in this film. No, not that Big Mama. That's Big Mama's house with Martin Lawrence. Okay, that's the Big Mama we're looking for. Then we had Goggle. He's a pretty handsome dude there, that's for sure. Sist, whom we mentioned before, played by the famed special effects artist Greg Nicotero. Oh gosh, Sis just looks like he's in constant pain. Like, where is your skin, dude? Big Brain, who is a guy with a massive head, kind of insinuates that he is some kind of boss in this hierarchy of mutants because he's telling people what to do via his walkie-talkie. We know he got torn apart by a dog, so he got what was coming to him, old Brain did. Then you had Ruby, whom is the mutant girl with the heart of gold, who wears the red hoodie, a sweatshirt, whatever. A couple of other younger children, Venus and Mercury, were also shown briefly, but they posed no threat to our heroes. They were basically just mutant kids. The mutants, though, for the most part, were cool and ruthless. This film definitely did not scrimp on the violence and the gore, that's for sure. Made for a fun ride. Beware, spoilers are coming here if you haven't seen it. The ending to this film is absolutely awesome. So to end, we do have some survivors. Doug, Brenda, Catherine, Bobby, and of course one of the dogs, Beast. And yes, only one of the doggies survived. They kill a dog in this film. Some of you guys care more about that than the humans that the mutants kill. But yes, there are some survivors. So the survivors are walking out into the desert, and we think all the mutants have been killed. And we're in the clear, free and safe. Us in the audience can finally take a deep breath. Oh, we can relax now. But wait, remember, this is a horror film. film. And one of the things I love about horror is you may never be out in the clear, because at the end they show a mutant looking at the survivors through binoculars. Totally awesome, and opens the door to have more Hills Have Eyes films, which, surprise, they made a Hills Have Eyes 2 sequel in 2007. I also suggest you guys watch that, but only if you have the time. Only if you have the time. If you couldn't tell, I really liked this film a lot and thought it was scary. Even the music was scary. It had kind of like this dun 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 thing going on that made it seem a little scary. Music always makes it seem a little scarier, doesn't it? So yes, high marks are in order for this film. I would like to thank you for joining me here on the CD Racoola show. So if you could come down off whatever hill you have been hiding and click that subscribe button, I would be most obliged to you, my nuclear mutated friends out there. Please join me next episode of the show when I take a look at the film Us. Oh, that film was so unique and scary. At least to me, that was scary to me. So till next time, my little blood bags, out there in YouTube land. If you ever go to a gas station and some crusty old guy comes out and tells you to take a detour or a shortcut somewhere, and it doesn't show up on your map or your GPS, maybe use that big old pink, juicy and delicious human brain of yours and don't do it. I mean, duh, come on. Ta-ta, my dears. Ta-ta.